Good evening, all the students. All the students, please pay attention. In my last session, I had discussed sum number 1 and 2. Now, today we will start from sum number 3 onwards. Now, before we proceed further, please pay attention. As I explained last time, in this chapter of working capital management, all the sums are categorized into 3 types. The first type sum, that is type number 1 sum, is sum number 1 and 2, which we have finished. This sum number 1 and 2 relate to calculating the duration of operating cycle. This sum relate to calculation of duration of operating cycle. Then second category of sum, that is type 2 sums, are sum numbers 3 to 11. The sum numbers 3 to 11 relate to estimation of working capital, estimation of net working capital. Estimation of net working capital means estimating the working capital requirement of the organization or the concern. And once you have estimated working capital, then you will go for third type of sum, that is sum number 12 and 13. Sum number 12 and 13 relates to working capital financing. Working capital financing means arranging the working capital estimated by you from various short-term sources. Suppose in this type 2 sum you have estimated working capital requirement of say rupees 10 lakhs. Then now after estimating this working capital of 10 lakhs, you will go to the market and you will raise this working capital of 10 lakhs rupees from various short-term sources of finance, like working capital loan from bank, cash credit, overdraft, intercorporate deposit, bill discounting, etc. So, this raising money for working capital is known as working capital financing. That we will do in sum number 12 and 13. Now, today we will start with sum number 3, which relates to estimation of net working capital. Now, all the students are requested to read question number 3 of the chapter working capital management. Please read the question. Now all the students, please pay attention. First I will explain you the question and then I will analyze it. As this is your first sum for working capital estimation, so we will go in depth, in detail. See, in the question you are said that the cost per unit of the goods produced by the company includes raw material, direct wages and overheads of 160, 60 and 120 rupees. So total cost is 340 and the selling price is 400 rupees. So profit per unit is 60. This is the cost per unit and selling price per unit given to you. Now thereafter you are given some information regarding current assets and current liability. Now while doing such question of estimating working capital, your first job is to find out that in the given sum which are the current assets. If you will see carefully, in this sum you are given 5 current assets and 3 current liability. Now how to identify that a particular item is current asset or it is a current liability? So if your money is locked up means invested somewhere for short term, then assume that it is current asset. Say for example, in this question it is written after the cost sheet that raw materials are held in stock on an average for 1 month. It means generally after purchasing the raw material and before it is used by the company keeps this raw material in stock for 1 month. It means your money is locked up or invested in raw material for 1 month. It means it is your current asset because your money remains invested in some asset for short term. So that asset becomes current asset. So the golden rule is if your money remains invested somewhere for short term, then assume that it is current asset. So if you will see the question carefully, in case of raw material, this money is invested for 1 month. Same way, second information, materials are in process. Material in process means work in progress remains on an average for half a month. So it is for 1 month, it is for half month. The third one is after producing the finished goods, generally the finished goods remain in stock for 1 month. Then see the next, credit allowed by supplier is 1 month. Now it is a current liability. Current liability means some facility or credit received by the company for a short term. When we purchase raw material from the supplier, our supplier give us credit of 1 month. So creditors for raw material give us credit of 1 month. And in the same way, we give credit of 2 months to our debtors. So when we give credit of 2 months, our money is locked up in the debtor for 2 months. So they become our current asset. And the next point is time lag in payment of wages is 1.5 week. Time lag means late payment. So we pay the wages late by 1.5 week. It means it is a current liability for us. Today we incur the wages but we pay after 1.5 week. So here creditors for wages is 1.5 week. So this is our second current liability, and the third one is the creditors for overhead is 1 month. Time lag in payment of overhead expense is 1 month. It means the day on which we incur overhead, we don't pay on the same day, we pay after 1 month. So these are the 3 current liabilities, and at the last you are given that generally the company keeps cash on hand of rupees 50,000. So when 50,000 rupees of cash remains idle as cash on hand, then it is our current asset. So these are the 5 current assets given in the question, and these are the 3 current liability. So the very first thing in such question of estimating working capital requirement is, number 1, find out which are various current assets, then find out which are various current liabilities in the question, and then make necessary assumptions which you require for doing the sum. Our target is, or our aim is to estimate the working capital. And to estimate working capital, whatever assumptions are required, that assumption we have to make. But when you make assumptions, be sure that your assumptions are a realistic assumption and they should not be unrealistic assumption. Realistic assumption means whatever you assume that should be near to the practical life, means that should thing really happen in real life. And second one, whenever you make any assumption, you have to make assumption only if some information is not given in the question, if it is missing. If some instruction or information is clearly given in the question, then don't make any assumption regarding that. Say for example, if in the question you are not given that how many days are there in a week, suppose, then you may assume that it is 365 days or 360 days or 350 days likewise. But if the question clearly tells you that there are 360 days in a year, then take 360 only. Clear? So, make necessary assumptions if required, and second, whenever you make assumption, that should be realistic assumption. Now, in this sum, which assumptions will you make? So, please write down and thereafter I will explain you. The first assumption is whether we will value the debtors at cost price or at selling price. If you will see the question, nowhere in this question information is given regarding valuation of debtors. So, we are assuming that we will value the debtor at selling price. At selling price means at sales. So, these are our assumption. First assumption is we assume that the debtors are valued at sales. The debtors are valued at sales. It means while finding out or estimating our working capital, we will take the selling price of the goods sold to the debtors and not the cost price of the goods sold to the debtors. That is the meaning of debtors are valued at sales. Second, now in this question, if you will see, then you are given work in progress. Work in progress means an item which is neither in the form of raw material nor in the form of finished goods. It is somewhere in between. If it is 0% complete, then you call it as raw material. If it is 100% complete, then you call it as finished goods. But work in progress means it is a semi-finished type of goods which is neither in the form of raw material nor finished goods. It is somewhere in between these two extreme stages. Now the main question is, if it is WIP, then what is the completion stage of WIP? Completion stage means how many percent complete it is. It may happen that it may be 1% complete, or it may be 99% complete, or it may be 50% complete. Now in this question, it is not given that WIP is how many percent complete. Clear? So, regarding this completion stage of WIP, we will make an assumption, because when we will find out value of 1 unit of WIP, we need the completion stage. If it is given in the question, then take it, but if it is not given in the question, then you have to assume. So, for completion stage, we are assuming that the WIP or work in progress is 100% complete in respect of raw material and 50% complete in respect of wages and overheads. Please write down, I will explain you. The WIP is 100% complete in respect of raw material and 50% complete in respect of wages and overheads. Now, please see here, whenever you produce any product, in case of manufacturing concern, following are the expenses. One is raw material, then wages, then it is factory overhead, then it is office, and you say administrative overhead, and then selling and distribution overhead. Generally, these are the 5 expenses. Suppose raw material cost is say 50, wages is say 10, factory overhead is say 20, this is also 10 and this is 10. So, total cost is 100. And suppose you make a profit of rupees 20, so selling price per unit is rupees 120. Suppose this is the cost structure: raw material, wages, factory overhead, office overhead and selling and distribution overhead. All the overheads are of 3 types. Now, sometimes it may happen that in the question these 3 overhead will be given to you separately, and sometimes like this question, that is question number 3, you will be given only overhead, name will not be specified. Clear? So, how to proceed with the valuation of various current assets in case all the overheads are given to you separately, and in case all the overheads are not given to you separately, only overhead is written, that is names are not specified. So, under such a circumstances, how to deal with it? Suppose first you are given various overheads separately. Now, continue the assumption 2. Suppose one unit is in WIP stage. Then in WIP stage, if there is a unit, then what will be the value of 1 unit of WIP? That we have to find out, and that value depends on our assumption. We are assuming that in the WIP, we know that WIP contains only 3 expenses: raw material, wages and factory overhead. If you produce one WIP unit, in WIP this office overhead and selling and distribution overhead are not included because they are not spent. So, WIP includes only these 3: raw material, wages and factory overhead. Now, if your assumption is that in one WIP raw material will be 100% complete, it means you have to take full 50. 100% of 50 means 50, and you are assuming that wages are 50% complete, so you have to take 5 rupees out of 10, and in case of factory overhead you have to take 10 rupees, that is 50% of 20. So, the value of 1 unit of WIP will come to 65 rupees. Clear? If factory overhead is given to you separately. Now, suppose factory overhead is not given to you separately and combined only overhead is written. So, instead of this 20, 10 and 10, you will be given 40. Suppose it is 40. Then what you have to do is, if factory overhead is not given to you separately, then take 50% of this overhead, because at that time we are helpless. We do not know that out of this overhead whether it is only factory overhead or office or selling overhead. So, consider the whole 40 and take 20%, 50% of this, that is 20. Then in that case your valuation will come to 75. So, what I mean to say is, if you are valuing or finding out value of one WIP, and if all the 3 overheads are given to you separately, then include only up to factory overhead. This is the rule in case of WIP. Now, suppose you are valuing 1 unit of finished goods. then in case of finished goods, all the expenses which are included are 100% complete. Now, if overheads are given to you separately, then in finished goods only 4 are included. This is not included because selling and distribution overheads are incurred for selling the goods and distributing it, not for producing them. So, suppose I am valuing 1 unit of finished goods, then continuing the same example, how to find out value of 1 unit of finished goods. So, finished goods means it is 100% complete. So, take 100% of all, that is 50, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, only up to this 3, because selling and distribution overhead are not included. So, value of 1 unit of finished goods is 80. But suppose you are not given these overheads separately. Suppose you are given combined, only overhead is written. So, these 3 will be 30. So, include the whole 30. So, what will be the value? 50, 100% of this, 100% of this 10 and 100% of this 30. So, total is 90. Is it clear? So, we are helpless if these overheads are not given to you separately. Clear? So, when you have to value 1 unit of finished goods, you will include only up to office and administrative overhead if they are given separately. Now, how will you value the 1 unit of debtor? Suppose you have sold goods on credit and you have created debtor. So, what is the value of 1 unit of debtor? If you have to find that out, then first you have to see that you are valuing the debtor at selling price or at cost price. In this sum, you are not given any instruction, and that is why we have assumed that we are valuing the goods at selling price. But if the question says that value the debtor at cost price, then how to value? If you have to value the debtor at cost price, then you have to take all the overheads. Suppose these are the 5 overheads, total cost is 100 and your profit element was 20. So, selling price is 120. Now, if I want to value 1 unit of debtor, then the value of 1 unit of debtor will be include all the expenses and include them 100%. So, 100% of 50 is 50, then it is 10, it is 20, it is 10, it is 10. Why you include the selling and distribution overhead in debtor? The reason is to get the customer, you have to make some sales and distribution effort, and that is why it is included. But in 1 unit of finished goods, this 5th one, selling and distribution overhead, is not included. So, the cost of 1 unit of debtor will be 100 if the debtors are valued at cost. But suppose question says that value the debtor at sales, then directly take the selling price, that is 120. So, the value of 1 unit of debtor will be 120, that is your selling price. Now, in this sum, as the question has not specified that debtors are to be valued at cost or at sales, we have assumed that the debtor is valued at sales, correct. So, these are the rules of valuation of various current assets and current assets. Now, come to the assumption. In this sum, as the completion stage is not given, we are assuming that in the work in progress, as these 3 expenses are included, we are assuming that raw material is 100%, wages and overhead are 50%. Now, what is the logic of taking raw material at 100%? See, if nothing is told, then WIP, in case of WIP, we are assuming that this is 50% and this is also 50%, means they are half done. But why you have to take raw material as 100%? The reason is, as I told you, whenever you make any assumption, that assumption should be a realistic assumption. Actually, when you start producing any finished goods, First of all, you take whole raw material. If you will see the production process, in reality, first whole raw material is taken. But the conversion process, these two are called conversion cost, wages and overhead. These two expenses are incurred gradually, means dhire dhire. So, in 1 unit of finished goods, raw material will be always 100%. But this wages and overhead will be first 10%, then 20, 30, 50, 70, 100, like that. Clear? So, if completion stage of WIP is not given, assume that in the WIP, the whole raw material is already taken and other two are only 50%. Is it clear? So, this was our second assumption. Now, third assumption. If you will see question carefully, you will find that you are given that in 1 month there will be 4 weeks, or 1 month is equivalent to 4 weeks. Now, if you will see all the time element given in this question, all the information are given in month and only one information is given in week. Can you tell me which information is given in week? And that information is wages. Time lag in payment of wages is 1.5 week. Now, when some information is given in month and some information is given in week, while doing the sum, it is better to convert the months into week. Means, while doing the sum, we will do all the calculation on the basis of week. But when all the information or the time is given in month, we will do the sum in terms of month. Now, in this sum, in 1 month there are 4 weeks, it is given, but in 1 year how many weeks are to be taken, that is not given. Now, there is a standard that 1 year is equal to 52 weeks. You should not assume that as in the question 1 month is equal to 4 weeks is given, so 12 months is equal to 48 weeks. No, you should not assume like this. So, please write down the third assumption. We assume that in 1 year there are 52 weeks. So, all the calculation we will make on the assumption of 52 weeks in a year, and wherever month comes, we will assume that 1 month is equal to 4 weeks. So, these are the 3 assumptions which are required for doing the sum. Now, students may ask their doubt, if any, before we proceed for the sum. All the students are requested to ask their doubt if they have any. Yes, please tell me.
Hello, sir.
Please tell me. Means meaning of overhead. Please tell me, what do you want to know about overhead?
Yes, sir.
Meaning. Overhead means indirect expenses. You know that all the expenses are divided into 2 parts. Some are direct expenses and some are indirect expenses. Now, indirect expenses means overhead. Those expenses which are indirect, they are called overhead. And this indirect expense or overhead is again of 3 types: factory overhead, office overhead, and selling and distribution overhead. So, overhead means indirect expenses. Is it clear? Please tell me, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, we will proceed for the answer. Give the title, Statement of Estimation of Net Working Capital. statement of estimation of net working capital. Please make two columns, one column for rupees and a broad column for particulars. Here we will write particulars or the details. All the students, please make this two column, particulars and rupees. Now, first of all, we will find out the value of various types of current assets in this question. So, write down first current assets. Now, first is raw material stock. Means what is the value of raw material stock which normally the company keeps. Now, to find out value of raw material stock, we can find it out value of all this, not only raw material, value of all the current asset by two methods. So, right now this sum we will do by method 1, and that is on the basis of annual production. Means value of all the current asset and current liability we will find out on the basis of annual production, and in this sum the annual production is 1,04,000 unit. Question says that the company is producing 1,04,000 unit. So, this sum of estimation of net working capital can be done either on the basis of annual production, or method 2 is on the basis of annual cost. But in this sum we are not given annual cost of various elements, like what is the annual raw material cost, because we are given only per unit cost. What is the annual wages cost, what is the annual factory overhead, office overhead and selling and distribution overhead. So, this sum we will do on the basis of annual production, and once you learn how to do sum on the basis of annual production, it will be easy to do the sum on the basis of annual cost. So, please see the question. You are given that annual production is 1,04,000 units. Now, how to find out value on the basis of this annual production? First of all, take annual production. Here annual production is 1,04,000 units. Now, question says that raw material remains in stock on an average for 1 month, and 1 month is equal to how many weeks? 4 weeks. So, divided by 52, it will give you production equivalent to 1 week, but raw material remains for how many weeks? 4. So, find out what is the equivalent production of 4 weeks. So, the first step is take annual production, divided by 52, it will give you production equivalent to 1 week, but raw material remains in stock for 1 month, that is 4 weeks. So, multiply it by 4. After multiplying it by 4, whatever you will get will be the answer in units only, not in rupees. So, the answer is here 8,000 units. Now convert this 8,000 units into rupees. So multiply it by raw material cost per unit. Now if you will see the question, the raw material cost per unit is 160. So multiply it by 160. So it will give you the value of raw material which remains in stock on an average. So it is 12,80,000. Now see the second one, work in progress. In case of work in progress stock, WIP stock, the time is half month. Half month means 2 weeks. So 1,04,000 divided by 52 into 2 weeks into, now we will have to find out value of 1 unit of WIP. Now if you will see the assumption, that is assumption number 2, you have assumed that in 1 WIP raw material will be taken at 100%. 100% means 160 plus, in case of wages you have assumed 50%. Now wage cost is 60 rupees. So 50% of that is 30 and overhead cost is 120. So 50% of that is 60. So in 1 WIP or 1 unit of WIP, raw material part will be 160, wages will be 30 and overhead will be 60. So total comes to 250. So multiply it by 250. So you will get the value of the units of WIP and it is 10 lakhs. The next is finished goods stock. Now in case of finished goods, question says that finished goods remain in stock on average for 1 month and 1 month is equal to 4 weeks. So 1,04,000 unit divided by 52 into 4 weeks into, now value of 1 unit of finished goods. As you know that in case of finished goods all the elements are taken 100%. So here take all the 3 elements 100%, that is raw material 160, direct labor 60 and overhead 120. So total it comes to rupees 340. So multiply it by 340. It comes to 27,20,000. Now the next is debtors. Now if you will see the question carefully, you will find that 1/4 of the sale is on cash basis, it means 3/4 sale is on credit basis, and debtors are created only in case of credit sales. But when in the question nothing is told to you about cash sale, at that time you have to assume that all the sale, that is 100% sale, is credit sale. Now if you will see debtors, in case of debtors the time is 2 weeks, means we give 2 months of credit to our debtors. So to find out value of debtors, 1,04,000 divided by 52 into 8 weeks, 2 months is equal to 8 weeks. Now whatever answer comes, that is 100% unit, but out of that only 3/4 is credit sale. So multiplied by 3/4, because in the question it is written that 25% is cash sale. So 75% is credit sale. Now this answer will come again in units. These are the units of credit sales. Now multiplied by, see assumption 1, whether you are valuing the data at cost price or at selling price. You have assumed that you will value the data at selling price, and selling price is rupees 400 per unit. So multiplied by 400, and the answer is 48 lakhs. But if in the question instruction is given that you have to value the data at cost, then you should have taken 340 instead of 400. And last, cash on hand. The cash on hand given is 50,000. Now add all the current asset. So total current asset, define it by A, is equal to, please find out, it will be 98 lakhs 50,000. Lakhs 50,000. Now before we proceed further for finding the valuation of current liability, students are requested to ask if they have any doubt in valuation of these current assets. Yes, please ask.
Hello, sir.
Tell me. Yes, please tell me.
So the assumption made about the overhead
Hmm.
is applicable for all the examples where the overhead data are not given separately.
Please repeat your question.
Sir, assumption for overhead and wages
Assumption number.
applicable for all the examples.
See, in those example where you are given,
Data is not
in those example where you are given completion stage, you have not to make assumption regarding that. Say for example, in this sum, in WIP it is not given that it is how many percent complete. So in any sum when you are not given that WIP is how many percent complete, then you should assume that in WIP raw material part will be 100% complete and wages and overhead part will be 50% complete. But suppose some question says that in WIP raw material is 100% complete and other two, that is wages and overhead, are 75% complete, then you have not to make any assumption, you have to do accordingly. So assumptions are to be made when question is silent regarding the completion stage. Is it clear? Please.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. Any other doubt to any other student? Please ask. See, when you will do other sums, you will find that in some sums completion stage is given. So at that time we will not make assumption regarding this 100% and 50% because it is clearly given. Okay. Now we will find out value of current liability. Now all of you please write down below this, but I am writing here again. So from current asset deduct current liabilities. So write down less current liabilities. Continue the same statement, below the current asset write down current liabilities. Less current liabilities Now in this question there are three current liabilities. First is creditor for raw material, means those persons from which we purchase raw material on credit. Now if you will see the question, the credit period given by our supplier of raw material is 1 month, that is equal to 4 weeks. So 1,04,000 unit divided by 52 multiplied by 4 will give us raw material units which we purchase on credit, and then convert this unit into rupees and multiply it by raw material cost. The raw material cost per unit is 60 rupees. So multiplied by 160. So it will give you the value of raw material which we purchase on credit, and the answer comes to 12,80,000. Then the second one, in case of wages, the time lag is 1.5 week. So creditors for wages, 1,04,000 divided by 52 multiplied by 1.5 multiplied by. Now see the wage cost. Wage cost per unit is 60 rupees. So multiplied by 60. So it comes to 1,80,000. And the third one is creditors for overhead. Here the time is 1 month, that is 4 weeks. So creditors for overhead, 1,04,000 divided by 52 into 4 into, to produce 1 unit the overhead is 120 rupees. So multiplied by 120. So the answer is 9,60,000. Now add all the three current liability. It will give you total current liability. So total current liability, define it by B. So total current liability comes to 24,20,000. Hence, net working capital, which is equal to A minus B, is equal to, please find out net working capital A minus B, 98,50,000 minus this 24,20,000. So it is 74,30,000. So this is our final answer. This is the estimated working capital or estimation of working capital. So in this sum, the working capital required will be 74,30,000. Now the students may ask if they have any doubt. In this sum, we have done the calculation on the basis of annual production of 1,04,000 unit, as I said you earlier. Please ask if you have any query. I hope none of the student has any doubt. Now please read question number 4. Now while reading question number 4, you have to find out that which are various current assets, which are various current liabilities, and which assumptions will be required for doing sum number 4. Please find out these three things: current assets, current liabilities, and assumptions required. Students, please go through question number 4 and find out current assets, current liabilities and assumptions required. Now all the students, please pay attention. In this question number 4, you will find there are 5 current assets. Just like last sum, they are raw material stock which remains in stock on an average for 2 months. Then second is work in progress, and this work in progress remains in stock or the production process for 1 month. Thereafter the third is finished goods. On an average, the finished goods remains in stock for 3 months. And the fourth current asset is debtors. On an average, this company gives credit of 3 months to the debtors. And the fifth current asset is cash balance or cash on hand. Now regarding current liabilities, there are 3 current liabilities. First is creditor for goods, that is creditor for raw material. And our supplier of raw material give us credit of 2 months. Second is creditors for wages, that is 1 month. We pay wages on the first of next month. And the third one is overheads. Here also the time is 1 month. So there are 5 current assets and 3 current liabilities. Now in this sum, first of all we will see that what is the cost per unit. In last sum, the statement of cost per unit was given to you in the question, but here the statement of cost is not given in rupees, but it is indirectly given in percentage. So first of all we will find out what is the cost per unit in rupees, and before that we will make assumptions. So first we will start with assumptions. If you will see carefully in this sum, again you are not given the valuation criteria of debtors, means whether the debtors are to be valued at cost or at sales. So we are assuming that debtors are valued at sales, because generally in accounts we write the selling price of the unit sold to the debtors and not the cost price. So write down the assumption. First assumption is debtors are valued at sales. And in this sum also, work in progress is given, but its completion stage is not given. So how many percent complete it is not given. So we are assuming again that in work in progress, raw material is 100% complete. In work in progress, raw material is 100% and wages and overhead are 50% complete. These are the 2 assumptions required. Other things are given to you in the question, and in this question if you will see, all the time for current assets and for all the current liabilities are given in month. Nowhere it is mentioned in week. So, this sum we will do in terms of month and not in terms of week. Secondly, in this sum you are given annual production of 60,000 units, but you are not given annual cost of each and every element. So, again this sum we will do on the basis of annual production. Now, before that, working note. First working note, or only working note 1 is cost per unit. Make two columns, cost per unit and rupees column. If you will see the question, you are given selling price of 5 rupees and raw material is 60%, so 3 rupees. So, write down raw material is 3 rupees. Then wages is 10%, so it is 50 paise. And overheads are 20% of selling price, that is 1 rupees. So, the total cost comes to 4 rupees and 50 paise plus profit of 50 paise. So, the selling price comes to 5 rupees. And on the basis of this cost per unit, we will do the sum. Now, before we proceed further, students are requested to ask if they have any doubt. Please ask if you have any doubt. I hope there is no doubt. So, now proceed with the answer part. Please write down the title, Statement of Estimation of Net Working Capital. Please make two columns, one for particulars and another for rupees, just like last sum. And first start with current assets. Now, please see, first is raw material stock. Raw material stock. Now, raw material stock remains in stock on an average for 2 months. So, annual production 60,000 divided by 12 into 2 will give you units of raw material stock, and to convert it into rupees, multiplied by raw material price per unit, that is 3 rupees. So into rupees 3, so it comes to 30,000. Second is work in progress stock, and this work in progress remains in manufacturing process as a stock on an average for 1 month. So second WIP stock, it is 60,000 divided by 12 into 1 into, now find out value of 1 unit of WIP. Please see the assumption. In case of WIP, we have assumed that raw material will be 100%, so 3 rupees, wages will be 50%, so 25 paise, and overhead will be 50%, so 50 paise. So value of 1 unit of WIP comes to 3 rupees and 75 paise. So multiplied by 3 rupees and 75 paise, it comes to 18,750. Then the third is stock of finished goods which remains in stock for 3 months. Finished goods stock 60,000 divided by 12 into 3 months into. Now finished goods means all the elements are 100% complete. So 1 unit of finished goods is of rupees 4 and 50 paise. So multiplied by 4 rupees and 50 paise. So it comes to 67,500. And the next is debtors. Now in this sum, nowhere it is mentioned regarding cash sales. So when cash sales is not mentioned, it is assumed that all the sale is credit sale. Now debtors are given credit of 3 months. So write down debtors 60,000 divided by 12 into 3 multiplied by selling price per unit, because we have assumed that debtors are valued at sales, so selling price, so 5. So it comes to 75,000 rupees. And the last one is cash on hand, it is 20,000. So cash balance or cash on hand, it is 20. Now make total of all the current assets. Total current asset, define it by A. It is 2,11,250. Students are requested to write it down. Now the students may ask if there is any doubt or query in this valuation of current assets. I hope there is no doubt. Now we will find out value of current liability. So below this, please write down less current liabilities. Now please see the question. The first is creditors for raw material and they give us credit of 2 months. Creditors for raw material 60,000 divided by 12 into 2, and when we purchase 1 unit of raw material on credit, it cost us 3 rupees. So multiplied by 3. So it comes to 30,000. The second one is creditors for wages, and here the time is 1 month. So 60,000 divided by 12 into 1 unit requires wages of 50 paise, so multiplied by rupees 0.50. So it will be 2,500 units rupees. And the next is creditors for overheads. Here also the time is 1 month. So 60,000 divided by 12 into 1 into rupees 1. The overhead per unit is 1 rupee. So it comes to 5,000. So the total current liability is, define it by B, it is 37,500. And hence net working capital A minus B is equal to, it is 1,73,750. 1,73,750. Students are requested to write down the answer. Now the students are requested to ask if they have any doubt in this sum number 1 or 2, 3 or 4. Please ask if you have any doubt in sum number 3 or 4.